Hi everyone, welcome to University Physics 2. I'm Professor Roman. I'll be helping you out this semester. Here's my information, my email, as well as my office hours. This is a fully it's asynchronous course. However, I have in-person office hours as well as some online, and you can always email me or set up another time if I'm available. I do teach 3 in-person courses out at the Williams campus at Chandler Gilbert. So some of my time can be limited when I'm teaching those in-person classes. However, once again, just feel free to email me anytime with any questions. We will have weekly modules. Each week we'll cover one kind of main topic, and those modules will include lecture notes and readings, as well as my lecture videos. Okay, everything is going to be due at the same time. However, the way that I order things in your module is the way that I would prefer you to do them. For instance, you should obviously start with the lectures, and then the CFU, this check for understanding. Those are practice questions, or you could call it a practice quiz if you want. But essentially what that does is covering more of the basic information that you should have gathered from the lectures. Okay, those practice questions you can take as many times as you want, but your highest score is kept. Most of them are pulled from a quiz bank or a question bank, so you'll get different questions each time you take it, which is also a great way to study. But as I said, they're more for the basic concepts, and then your expert TA work is going to be the more challenging problems that you're going to work through. Okay, so Expert TA has a tutorial for week 1. It'll walk you through some of the ins and outs of it. If you've already used it in Physics 121, then that tutorial is optional, but it's available if you want to check it out. I say 2 labs, but sometimes we'll have 1 larger lab or 2 smaller labs. And every now and then we do some challenges where you have to try to determine something. And then during our circuits, we're going to have some hands-on labs. Okay, there may be a few other things as well, but essentially this is the bulk of what our class is, all right, or our weekly modules. Our quiz, we do weekly quizzes. I'm not doing unit exams. We will do weekly quizzes, which are also due at that time on Sunday night, okay? So here's the schedule. I'll publish the weekly module on Monday. Every now and then I'll have them a little bit early depending on the week. But you should work through or plan to work through that week, and then everything is due on Sunday. Okay, I've pointed out my office hours here. Fridays I do work. I can answer emails. Over the weekend, sometimes I'm available, sometimes I'm not, depending on the weekend. So just be prepared. If you leave everything to the last minute, you may not be able to get help if you have questions. I do a pretty basic grade breakdown where it's each category is a quarter. Okay, coursework, lab work, quizzes, and then final exam. I know this kind of stresses some people out, but essentially if you're doing all of this with integrity, meaning you're actually learning, if you get something wrong, you figure it out on the quizzes, then anybody who does that in my class does just fine on my final exam. Okay. So as I mentioned, the check for understandings, they're kind of little checkpoints to make sure you get the main concepts. All right, you can take them as many times. They're due by Sunday, but I would really do those first to kind of get that checkpoint, and then you can use them to help study. Expert TA, as I mentioned, there'll be a link for you to do a tutorial if that one's optional for this week, and then week 2 we will start actual assignments, okay? This is important here. You have 5 attempts at each question. And it reduces your score by 5% for every attempt. However, if you submit handwritten solutions to the ones that you got incorrect, I will give you back those 5%. So let's say you weren't sure what to do, and so you got one wrong, and you ended up using 2 or 3 attempts. So if you use 3 attempts, you're going to lose 15% just on that question, not on the whole thing. But then typically you're going to need to write out to problem solve anyway. So if you take a picture of that and turn it in the corrections portion of our module, then I will give you that 15% back, and I will manually bump your grade up. Okay, but they should be handwritten. It's okay if they're on a whiteboard or paper. or if they're handwritten on a tablet. All right, but you should have proper solutions, and it should be numbered by which questions, okay? And you're only turning in the ones that you got incorrect. If it happens to not be a calculation question, you can give me a written explanation of why the answer was correct. Labs this is a lab science. Our labs are going to be very different week to week, depending on the week. Some are a little bit longer, some are going to require a little bit more effort than others, but please make sure you have enough time to complete them. All right. Typically, if I give you one lab for the week, then it's going to be a little bit of a bigger lab. So just keep that in mind. Or if it says lab activity or lab challenge, that usually means it's going to be a little bit smaller, a little bit quicker. Okay. We will have lab kits. There was a lab fee for this course that we are putting together these kits. I'll have information for you on how to pick those up. Or if you are, I know some of you have maybe not as close to Chandler Gilbert as others. So you always have, I'll put links to Amazon or wherever you want to buy them. But they are going to be for our circuits unit, which would start about week 6. So I'll give you more information when it gets closer. Okay, so our weekly quizzes are using Lockdown Browser, okay? There is a scientific calculator within that Lockdown Browser, but you will not be able to access any other website. So please make sure that you have a scientific or graphing calculator. We're not going to use a graphing feature, but using it to solve problems, okay? These will lock. They don't just, it's not just due at Sunday at 11:59, they will lock and close, okay? So I do not allow late quizzes on those, all right? But here's the great part. You have 2 weeks from when the scores are released to request a retake, okay? So I let you retake your quizzes in order to relearn or learn from them and try again. My students who take advantage of that usually do very well the second time around, and it really helps them with the final as well. If you get a 10 out of 10, then obviously you know your stuff. But essentially what's going to happen is some of the quizzes are auto-graded and some of them aren't. And so when they close on Sunday, okay, Monday, I'll go through and look at them, and then I will open them so you can see what you got wrong. It won't give you the right answer, but it'll tell you what you got wrong. So that won't happen till after I release those scores. And then at that point, you will have 2 weeks in order to ask for a retake. Keep in mind that you do have to do the original quiz in order to get a retake. And you need to show some sort of way that you tried to relearn the material. Okay, it could just be a note of saying, hey, number 5, I totally forgot this, and now I know how to do it. Or it could be meeting with me during my office hours, or hey, I went to the tutoring center and got help on this. But don't just try it again and hope for a better result. Okay, you need to actually work with the material. Give me some sort of proof of that, and then I will assign you a retake. And there's all that information. So final exam, this is a little different. Our physics department at CJCC has gone to in-person exams, whether we are hybrid, in-person, or asynchronous. All right, and this was in SIS when you signed up for the classes. It was in the notes section. So if there's any issues with this, we need to address it this first week. If this is something that we cannot accommodate for you, or you cannot accommodate, you do have the options of scheduling it with a proctoring service. Both Rio Salado and Mesa Community Colleges do proctoring for any Maricopa student. Mesa is free, but Rio has a $25 charge. And if those don't work out for you, if you are out of the Maricopa area, then you need to find a national proctoring service, okay? Otherwise, I do give you some options here, okay? So we've got 2 in the afternoon, 1 in the evening, 1 kind of in the morning on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. These 3 are during my other in-person exams, and so I will give you details on the location, but it will be at the Williams campus, which is out by ASU Polytechnic and Mesa Gateway Airport. All right, so as I mentioned, there are no late quizzes, okay? And if you are using a proctoring service, the final exam cannot be late. It has to be completed by that exam week. Okay. Everything else is an automatic 10% per day. Okay. So you turn everything in online. If you turn it in past the due date, it will automatically deduct 10% per day. Okay. So you can kind of, if you're running behind or things like that, you can always reach out to me. But just keep that in mind that if you have a lot on your plate, make sure you at least get the quizzes done. And if you don't do well, you can retake them, but those you cannot do late, but the rest of the work is a 10%. All right, this is your prior knowledge and pre/co-requisites. This is the stuff that I'm assuming you already know. I don't really teach it in detail, but if you ever have any questions about it, I'll be more than happy to help. Okay, and with a fully online class, this is not the easiest course to take fully online, to be totally honest. But I have absolutely had many successful students. This is my 3rd semester teaching this course like this. So I try to improve it each time. But these are the key things that are going to help you succeed in this class, okay? You cannot leave things to the last minute. Physics, especially electricity and magnetism, it's very difficult to Google or search answers. It's very time consuming. So you're better off coming to me or using the resources that I'll post in the lecture and information page, okay? Make sure you're organized. Set yourself up with a schedule, a weekly schedule, okay? You now know what is going to be happening week to week. So maybe give yourself a schedule throughout the week where you're doing your check for understanding, where you're doing your lab, where you're doing the expert TA, and then finishing off with the weekly quizzes. Okay. Reaching out to someone in class, I'm going to set that up week 2. I'm going to help with that, kind of give you guys a platform to communicate with each other and exchange information. I highly recommend that, especially for talking through labs. The point of lab work in person is obviously to discuss this. And the more you can discuss and talk to somebody about this, the better you're going to understand it and the more you're going to learn and the more you're going to remember it. All right, so I'm going to try to help set up some groups. It's not required, it's not mandatory, but it's highly recommended. Okay. All right, and as always, if you ever have any questions, please reach out. You can send a message through Canvas or directly email me. But the more communication you give me, the better, so I can help you in any way I can. All right, I look forward to a great semester.